All right, let's just jump right in. Have you ever had that feeling that you're just operating on a totally different wavelength than everybody else? You know, like your brain has a million tabs open at once, while the rest of the world seems to be just coasting. If that sounds like you, then you're in the right place. We're going to break down the psychology behind why some of us are just wired differently.
So, does this feel familiar? You're in a group, maybe at work or with friends, and you're not just hearing the words. You're seeing all the invisible strings, the hidden dynamics that everyone else just completely misses. It can feel like you're less of a participant and more of a silent observer, kind of analyzing everything from the outside. That's a huge sign that you think differently.
And here's what's so important to understand. This is not a flaw. You're not being difficult, you're not overthinking, and you are absolutely not broken. This quote really gets to the heart of it. Your mind, your nervous system, it's all just processing the world at a much higher resolution, picking up on all these subtle signals that just fly right under most people's radar.
So let's reframe this. This isn't just about being smart or introverted. It's about a very specific kind of psychological wiring. And honestly, it's not a bug in your system, it's a feature.
You know, neuroscience actually gives us a really cool way to look at this. See, most of society is set up as what's called a kind environment. The rules are clear, things are predictable, A plus B equals C. But some of us, our brains are optimized for wicked environments. Places filled with ambiguity, chaos, where the rules are always changing. And in those places, the ability to spot hidden patterns isn't just a quirk, it's a survival skill.
And the engine driving this whole thing is what psychologists call deep processing. This means your brain isn't just a sponge, passively soaking up information. Oh no, it's actively analyzing everything, connecting it to past experiences, flipping it around, looking at it from all angles, and it's doing all of this in a split second.
Okay, so that's the groundwork. Now let's build on that. We're going to dive into 7 specific signs that really show this unique cognitive architecture in action. And I have a feeling this is where you might start seeing yourself very, very clearly.
First up, let's talk about what we can call the pattern sensitivity trap. This is that superpower of seeing connections that seem totally invisible to everyone else, whether it's in data, conversations, or just human behavior. You ever find yourself saying, "I knew that was going to happen," and you just get blank stares in return? Yeah, this is why.
I mean, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? What other people call overthinking, for you, it's not a choice. It's your brain's default setting. It's this high-powered neural network that's constantly scanning, predicting, and connecting the dots 24/7. It just can't turn it off.
Okay, let's move on to sign number 2, the inefficiency irritant. This is that physical, almost gut-level frustration you feel with broken systems, illogical rules, or just clumsy ways of doing things that other people seem to just accept without question. But here's the thing, this isn't about you wanting to be controlling. For a brain like yours, finding a better way to do something, optimizing a system, it's like a fun puzzle. You see the elegant, obvious solution so clearly that it's genuinely confusing when other people don't. You're not just complaining, you're trying to fix a bug in the matrix that only you can see.
Sign number 3 is so fascinating. It's having a high-sensitivity dopamine threshold. This basically explains why a loud, crowded party might feel totally draining to you, while a quiet night with a good book or one deep conversation feels incredibly rewarding.
Just look at the difference here. Someone who's more extroverted might need a ton of social stimulation to get that dopamine hit, that feeling of reward. But your system, it's way more sensitive. You hit your dopamine ceiling much, much faster. So wanting to leave the party early isn't a social failure, it's social intelligence. You're just protecting your energy.
All right, on to number 4, strategic layered simulation. Now this one is so often mistaken for just plain old worry or anxiety, but it's actually something way more complex and way more useful.
So here's the key difference. Rumination is when you get stuck in a loop, going over the same worry again and again. Layered thinking, well, that's like playing mental chess against the future. You're not stuck. You're running simulations, exploring every possible outcome, identifying every potential point of failure, and planning 5 moves ahead. It's a strategic superpower for navigating a messy world.
So the 5th sign is something called reduced tribal affiliation. This is when you feel a kind of emotional neutrality towards the things that create these intense group identities for other people. You know, like die-hard sports fans or hardcore partisan politics. You might get why they're passionate, but you just don't feel that same pull yourself.
And the reason for this is really powerful. It's not because you lack passion. It's because your sense of self-worth is internal. It's stable. It doesn't need the win of an us versus them battle to feel secure. By your very design, you're built to stand on your own.
Number 6 is a big one, perceptual hyperattunement. This is that almost psychic ability to walk into a room and instantly feel the vibe. You can sense a shift in the emotional energy long before anyone has even said a single word.
I mean, I love this analogy because it's just so perfect. It's like your mirror neurons are on steroids, constantly downloading and processing all the nonverbal cues, the microexpressions, the subtext, all of it. You're not being too sensitive. You're basically a human lie detector operating with a much, much higher resolution of social data. And that brings us to our 7th and final sign, private self-consciousness. This usually shows up as a complete lack of desire to perform your life for an audience on social media. Your attention is just naturally turned inward, toward your own thoughts and feelings, not outward for public approval.
And what this really boils down to is that you've just kind of opted out of the whole dopamine trap of external validation. And honestly, that's the ultimate form of self-respect. You get that the most meaningful experiences are the ones that are deeply lived, not the ones that are perfectly documented for strangers.
So, let's pull all this together. What do all these signs really point to? In a world that is getting louder and more superficial every day, there is a rare and incredible power in being the person who can actually see the depth beneath it all.
This right here is the most important thing to take away from all of this. If you've ever felt like you're struggling to fit in, just remember, these aren't your flaws. They're just the patterns of a mind that's wired differently. A mind that needs to be understood on its own terms, not forced into a system that just wasn't built for your frequency.
So, embracing this way of thinking, it's not about isolating yourself from the world. It's about liberating yourself from the pressure to be just like everyone else. Your peace is your power. So the real question is, once you truly accept the unique way your mind is built, what are you going to do with it?
If this felt like a mirror into your own mind, hit that like button. Comment, share, and subscribe so we can reach more people. Thank you for watching.